Um, Dear colleagues, participants of our webinar, greetings from Constructor University, Bremen. And I'm Isaac Frumin, head of Observatory of Higher Education Innovations at this international university in the northern Germany. And we continue our series of webinars about unusual universities, innovative universities. And today we travel from, as I remember last time we were in Singapore, so not very far, to China, to South China. And we will be talking about experience of one of the youngest rising stars, I would say, in Chinese academic landscape. We'll be talking about South China University of Science and Technology, and we'll focus particular on university technology transfer. Let me also inform you that today we have as my partner for the webinar, commentator and moderator, outstanding scholar in area of higher education studies, chair of Department of Economics of Education and Administration at School of Education of Peking University. Professor Po Yang, welcome. Professor Po Yang is a member of our steering committee, and she wrote extensively about development of higher education in China. Let me also remind me about the rules of our webinar. The length is 60 minutes, which includes 15-20 minutes presentation, discussion, interview. The recording will be available on YouTube, and please share your questions, impressions through the Q&A button in the bottom of your Zoom screen. And it's my great pleasure to introduce our guest for today. Our speaker today is professor at Southern University of Science and Technology. Sometimes we call it SUSTER, Professor Ma. Professor Ma is experimental physicist, and he is very active researcher in his area. He has a PhD he traveled around best universities in the world, I guess, during his education and professional career. And he got his PhD at Oxford University, spent time at University of Berkeley. He also Peking University, which Chinese colleagues call Beida, and in China he worked in Chinese Academy of Sciences and at Tsinghua University. And relatively recently, he joined this university in the southern China. And I would say a few words why our steering committee recommended this university, and maybe Professor Yang can also comment on that. Southern University of Science and Technology, Southern China University of Science and Technology, is one of the youngest Chinese universities, public universities. It was established at 2011. And during this period, relatively short period, it presented itself as very innovative, interesting university in the very rapid developing part of China. We all probably know about Shenzhen, which was, when I was there, it was already a big city, very modern city, but A few decades ago, it was very small provincial town in China, relatively small provincial town in China. And now it's a place of like big Silicon Valley. And I just introduced you and briefly your university. We can, in fact, I've read a lot before when we prepared this webinar, so I could probably tell about the university even more, but I want to give the floor to you. Please, Professor.
Okay. Thank you, Isaac. Thank you, Professor Yang. This, I think you can hear me well now, right?
Yes.
We should be a little bit careful. I don't know what's going on with this. Some technical problem. So thank you for the chance. And I would talk about what's happening here and the reason I left Tsinghua last year and joined the SOSTAC. And we're trying to see when I working in Tsinghua, we see a lot of problems with university. Of course, we have some experience and then problems with the technology transfer from the university side. So today I'm going to talk about the things we are trying to do now here, and we start working with on this. So, okay, so we talk about the navigation, the challenge of the university, especially on the technology transfer in China, and what we experienced on the Shenzhen side. It's from SOSTAC. It's a new university. It's today it's 12 years from the time the Chinese Education Bureau gave the title to SOSTAC. It's 12 years, and it's located in the Shenzhen, it's a blooming city, and the economic in Shenzhen is very well, but the education side, Shenzhen realized that it's a kind of laid back. So the government spent a lot of money and give the funds to the university. And of course, the government wants the university contribute not only to the academia side, but the university can contribute a lot to the society, especially to the local industry. And so that's where we start. And next page, please. Yeah, as we all know, there's a standard of technology readiness level, which invented by DARPA in 1970s, and we use this as a scale to evaluate the university academia side and the level of industry applications. So the university side, from the last 30, 20 years, the university side focus more and more on the first three levels, whereas you founded the event and you founded the fundamental discovery and publish a paper, then university uses publications to get more funds from the government. And on the other side, the industry care about more about we call that the TIL level, more than 7, so the industry can make productions and get their goods to be sold to the public. So that's where the industry care about. So both sides actually focus. University side focus on 1 to 3 level, and the industry side focus on the 7 to 9 level. So where eventually both sides lack of experience and energy to spend more energy or timing or investment in we call the 4 to 6 level, which actually is the engineering part. We call that how to make your discovery into a real applications. So eventually we call it's make a technology transfer gap, and people call that the technology transfer Death Valley. It's where we starting from basic research to the technology development on the application side. And both sides, we have their own interest. That's nothing you can really blame on the university side, because the university a lot of universities now focus more on their publications, which help a lot in their university ranking. And the industry side, they need, get investment and get money and get things sold. And if they're doing fundamental research, the lack of investment and the lack of intelligent people to do this. So which eventually make a huge gap between university side and industry side. Yeah, for China, and we experienced for the last from the time of China, we call it the opening, and after the special period of China from end of 1970s to now, I would say there's a 3 periods of the Chinese university trying to do technology transfer. The first period is from 1980s to the 1990s, and because of the special timing, or university basically own everything, and like the government used to own everything. So for those companies funded by the universities, and the university own those companies by 100% of the share. And eventually people think it's not a good idea, because basically the university have to run academia side and run all the companies set up by the new technology funded by the university side. So from year 2000 to 2010, the university learned things from financial side. They have a big holding companies to be a shareholder of the companies, and give the encouragement to professors who work for the university, and they can become shareholder of the companies, and also the university become shareholder of the companies, and to form those holding companies, especially like in Peking University, there's a Fangzhong, the founders, and it's called the founders. And in Tsinghua, it's the Tsinghua Holding. So eventually those companies become really big, because both universities have a huge power for innovations. And so in 2020s, and there's a new rule coming out saying the university doesn't need to be own those companies, so the share getting lower, and give more parts to the professors, to the people who invent those skills or new technologies. And eventually what's happening is the university become apart from the academia research as a traditional university, and the university also become owners of a big holding company, which as big as $1 billion, as there's a Tsinghua Holding, and in Peking University, there's the founders holding. Actually, it's a holding company. So it's become really big. And what happening is those big company eventually become out of control, because university is not a business running unity. So eventually there's problems happen to those holding companies, and then the society realized, or the government realized, that actually that's not the experts or specialists. The university basically doesn't have the ability to run a holding company, which actually much larger than the university unity. So that's happened to the last 2 or 3 years, and the government basically asked the university to sell or transfer those big holding companies to government-owned, to the national-owned companies. And that's one period finished, just complete actually in the last 2 or 3 years. And as a period of the Chinese university trying to do technology transfer. And to be honest, what's happening is all the Chinese university now trying new methods and see how university can contribute to the society.
Anna, could you come to the previous page, please? Because some of our participants may not know their Chinese landscape. Yeah. So what could you give a couple of examples of the companies that were owned by universities? And I was really, I thought that I know a lot about Chinese universities, but I didn't know that they didn't get money from these companies. Why did they open them?
Well, the first, back into 1980s, the university have to, there's innovations from the university, and the university think of this innovations is using the resources from the university, because that used to be a public. There's it's the system reason. It's more like the university own the professor and own their time, then own their patents. So the university basically own everything. So once those technology being transferred into public, the university think this is 100 shares should be taken by university. So that's happening in 1980s. And then there's they grew up a bunch of big companies from that. For example, there's China, the Beta has a big company called Founder, which in 1990s, it's built up on computers. It's called Founder's Computer. And yes, can you hear me well now? I didn't get everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
We hear you well, and thank you very much for the clarification.
And on the Tsinghua side, Tsinghua side has a big company working on the chips. Actually, it's Ziguang. I don't know what's the English name for that. Ziguang is a big company working on chips, and it's bought a lot of other companies by doing more investment. So it's become a huge company in China. So Beta used to have 5 public companies on the Beta holding, the founder holding, and Tsinghua has the relative same number of holding companies. Now, under the holding companies, there's public companies, which are all of those owned by universities by different parts of the share. So that's how actually the Chinese university have 40 years of working on this way, and then we realized, well, gradually people realize that's not the correct way to go, because the holding companies become much bigger than the university, and to be honest, the university never get money or support from those holding companies, because basically before the company go public, become a listed public company, they never give a share to the shareholders. But once they become a public company, and the university can't really sell the share, because that's define the value of the company. So eventually we realized that until the company getting its own problem, the university never get any real support from its own company, So that's eventually the central government or the government saying the university this is not the university should do, and we should stop here. And then the whole China began to looking for the new method of what to do next. And we are actually on the transfer side, and we're working on the new method, and that's next page I'm going to explain, I think.
Thank you.
Please, next page. Yeah, as I explained before, we realized that actually the university should have a technician team which fill up the gap we call the technology transfer gap, the Death Valley. And once you have the technician team, it's make a bridge between the applications, the industry side and on the university side, because both sides somehow previously the university side have no interest in really have a really strong team to do the technology transfer, which connecting with the fundamental research to the applications. And both sides thinking this is a job for the other side. But then we realized that if the university do this side or take the responsibility for engineering the fundamental research side, it will benefit both the industry and academia, which on the way, it helped the research side, the university side doing deeper, more practical research. And of the industry side want to do this part, it needs more research funding and intelligent people. And on the other side, for the university, intelligent people, it's easier to get on the university side. So eventually, we think the better model is to do the engineering side on the university side rather than do on the industry side. So we began to form the technician team, which is a powerful technician team to fill up the gap to do the levels 4 to 7.
I think Professor Ma already gave a very thorough introduction to the history of we call university industry linkages here in China. I think one of the important things is really about the policy side. I think in the 80s and even in the 90s, university-run firms or industry facilities was as a way for revenue diversification, because the government, the financial or the physical capacity of the government is quite limited. So we encourage universities to to get some extra money from the market by running their own affiliated firms or corporations. So founders will exactly linked to the Peking University is starting as a so to speak, computer or IT company, and then into a huge cooperation, including medical insurance, the medical center, medical hospitals, and a lot of other kind of running business in a very diverse industries. I think that also is the case for Tsinghua University, as Professor Ma just mentioned, the uni-splendor cooperation. We're starting from the IT company, assembling computers, and then spend, for instance, like the new energy industry and also other parts of the industry. So I think that was kind of a convenient solutions in the 90s, in the 80s and 90s. After 2000, going to the 21st century, in the past 20 years, the policy of the government changed slightly. Instead of encourage university to run their own corporations, to finance particularly faculty salary, and also kind of fringe benefits, the university actually, after the so-called world-class university initiative, the funding was not the issue, but it's more about the connection with the industry for innovation capacity. So that's kind of turning point. In terms of Tsinghua University and Peking University, around 4 years ago, so the government decided there should be a separation of university and its own holding companies. So to let the company go for the market, and university then will not continue as a holders of these big companies, but only connected through the education foundation. So that's the reason why, even the founders and also the uni splendor from Tsinghua and the founders from Peking University actually go on apply for bankruptcy, but that doesn't really affect the university itself. But it's also linked to a lot of the patent law change or the legal change in the Chinese systems. So back to your questions, the history was quite interesting because the policy environment changed a lot. So university kind of also responded to the changing policy environment, but also to the changing market situation as well. For instance, like one of my colleagues, Professor Liu Mingxin, is right now doing research looking at particular interesting phenomena, which is, the university professors run their own lab and also run their own companies go on the stock market. So they find the kinds of complementarities between their academic achievement and also their market achievement. So yeah, so that is to say, the kind of relationship between the university and the industry was quite complicated, and there are different ways or different solutions to that. And Professor Ma's case example, engineering team was definitely a very interesting and also very innovative way to building this connection between stage 4 to stage 7, and then to the successful business innovation. Yeah, thank you, Isaac.
Yeah, I also found this picture of different levels and this jump to go to the level 7 very clear, and it's in fact it's clarify why most universities, even investing a lot of money into transfer, really don't transfer much. Yeah. What maybe I was going to ask anyway this during the big discussion. So maybe we often consider innovations at universities in the area of curriculum or I don't know, multidisciplinary research, etc. But rarely we look at this transfer, commercialization, innovation in financial flows. I personally think that it's inevitable that we try new ways of getting finance to university, to big research. In your experience in China, these holdings, these and new attempts, did they help the research, or research still is funding mostly by the central government?
Thank you very much for the question. I think that's a very intriguing question because I just returned from Shenzhen last week. And also 2 weeks ago, I was attending this Times Higher Education Innovation Summit, a university in the city at the SUSTech. So in that particular forum, there been a discussion about it's kind of a triangle for successful innovation. For successful business innovation, you need the people, you need the talents, and then you need the funding, and then you need this kind of technical capacities or kind of readily available technology for transfer. So there's multiple ways to connect these 3 kind of elements together. Just as you mentioned, there are different kinds of attempts to do it. I think in China previously, when we discussed about this kind of how to support university research, industry university collaboration was taken as one of the ways, right? Through the technology transfer, you get the funding from the market and then support for the research, basic research and applied research. But I think people doesn't pay a lot of attention to what Professor Ma just mentioned. There's a gap between the level 1 to 3 to level 7 to 9. So for the 4 to 7, there'd be a big gap. So I think the funding issue is the university research funding from the government basically go to level 1 to 3. Yeah, Professor Ma is back. So that's my observation.
Thank you. And again, technical issues. It's great that we can discuss it with you as you just visited SUSTech, as I understand. And do you see that mechanisms for transfer is unique, or many Chinese universities experiments with that?
I think the way Professor Ma going to present today, the engineering team was quite unique in a way, because we didn't, as you said, at the cognitive level, at the intellectual level, we didn't notice this big gap. I mean, this is widely being aware of in the business cycle, especially in terms of venture capital. But for us in the universities, we didn't pay a lot of attention to this. There been a lot of research actually looking at the Tsinghua University as a case example, how their TTO, the technology transfer office, kind of goes through this dynamic evolution from only transfer readily available technology to the market to become an incubator and also developing this kind of engineering capacities to help professors to transfer their technology into development stage and then into the business stage. So I think what SUSTech was doing today was extraordinary. Is they make it really, how do we say, very efficient. I mean, there have been different attempts, but it's like a trial and error. There have been a lot of prior attempts wasn't really so efficient, because I think this model has been testing out in the UK, in the university. Many universities in UK now is back to China. So I think that's a unique part of this. And also, of course, we have this kind of, we will call social entrepreneur, like Professor Ma. He was really have this capacity to carry on this kind of new way of bridging the level 3 to level 7. So I think that was very impressive.
Thank you. I just got a message from Professor Ma that he can hear us, but we don't hear him. And while he resolves this issue, could I also ask for, you will kind of, it's so good to have such knowledgeable expert and Chinese representative at this webinar. Look, again, SUSTech is very young. And as I remember, in Guangdong, in the southern China, there are quite a number of established universities, like Guangzhou University. So how what is the difference between SUSTEC and, I would say, well-established Chinese universities in
Again,
different
that's
aspects?
That's a very interesting. Like you mentioned, Guangzhou University or Shenzhen University, like the traditional we call the world-class university in Guangzhou or in the region. SUSTEC was unique, but not so much unique because there are also a lot of young universities around Shenzhen. For instance, Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, Guangzhou was very close. And also there are other kind of new research university around Shenzhen or Guangzhou area. I think from the traditional we call world-class university and this group of new research university, the key differences was really this kind of engineering capacity, because they were kind of have the gene, if you like, to be innovative, because they don't have this kind of traditional burden, so to speak, to build the reputation as a traditional university, because they already have the reputation by recruiting the top talent as a Professor Ma here, right? And also, once they have this kind of talented, they also have huge funding from the Shenzhen government in terms of SUSTEC. So we have a talent and we have funding, and then we also have this kind of technology who coming from this innovative social entrepreneur who already have this kind of mindset and also searching for opportunities. So I think this is kind of quite unique in terms of SUSTEC, because we're looking at their professors' profile. 90% of them was getting PhD degrees or postdoc research or working experiences overseas, and more than 50% of the faculty member in SUSTEC actually graduate from the top 50 universities around the world. So they were really well connected to the global science. Simon Marginson used to looking at the Chinese science, right? He write quite a lot about the rise of China science in the global science scenario. I think one key observation he has was really the growth of the importance of Chinese science in terms not only about quantity, but also about quality. And one thing he looking at the Chinese connection to the global science was this kind of joint paper by Chinese scholar, Chinese scientists, and their collaborators in the United States, in Europe, in Asia, so well-connected social network. And also in the Professor Ma's case, you can see the engineering team actually from his working experiences in UK. So, there must be, how do we say, global wisdom and connected into the Shenzhen scenario context, which make the SUSTEC such a phenomenon young university. Yeah.
Yang just mentioned that SUSTEC received quite generous funding from provincial government.
Yes.
But the transfer is also about getting money to into university.
Right.
So
yes.
Let's imagine poor European university or poor university in a different place,
yeah.
but with some excellence, research excellence. Can
Yeah.
they survive on the transfer? But you can respond later, and let's go with your presentation now.
Yeah, that's well, the presentation is short, so can I go to the next page, which is it's more like with this model, we're trying to build up the scientists, researchers doing fundamental research, and basically the engineering doing the level 4 to 7, and the industry being to basically do 7 to 9. So which make actually a chain for technology transfer. So we make everyone doing the expert part, rather than driving a scientist in a short time become a successful business people. And we realized that kind of model, doing a scientist and you work with a VC, a venture capital, and in a couple of years, you want to drive in the scientist become a holder of a public company and sold that company, then VC can quit and get the money. That kind of model actually have a very high risk, which actually that's the reason big funds can't really get in because that's a high risk. Only a very special or very small number of funds can go to technology transfer. But on the other side, if you do make every expert to do their own part, just like a assembly line of Ford in 1940s, which actually you make every worker to do the only one part of the job, make a scientist doing the fundamental research, engineering to do the 4 to 7 and technology transfer, and then the industry side to do their part. So which make it actually more like an assembly line on the technology transfer side. Once you have this assembly line, the stability and risk being reduced and the stability of technology transfer being pop up. So eventually you can attract more funds into those technology transfer, and the industry side feel more comfortable to do research with the university side. So can I do next page? So we just do this quick. And condition in Shenzhen is more like, as you said, we actually want to do both way. Of course, you get money from the government side. And of course, in Shenzhen, there's 2.4 million big size and small size companies. And if the university can do more on the, to the readiness level of a 7, we can do the service to the small or medium-sized companies, and they can give further funds to university to make another leg. Because we think of for SUSTEC, as Professor Yang has just introduced, the SUSTEC get a lot of funds from the government, but actually the government want us really contribute to local industry, to the local companies. And then we can do the service to the local companies by doing more higher level of readiness. And so the local company can really buy the technology and research ability from university side. So the university basically getting really the more amount of research fund from the service to the industry. And this is actually happening in China, and we're trying to work more with the local industry. And of course, the other kind of advancement in China is we have finished a big infrastructure over the nation, so which help the technology transfer as on a national level. And can I do next page? Yes, actually, this is not only happened to China. Actually, we learned this model actually from Sheffield University which I work on before, and we realized actually what Sheffield has done is define the university to do more jobs for the industry rather than get funds from government. But the university, rather than do the VC, the investor capital way, but the university put most of the research doing service for companies, and attract companies like Boeing and Rolls-Royce, which make the university to a readiness level. The university research institute can do parts and jobs to a readiness level 7, and those parts can serve in real machines. And it's eventually making the institute of the university more like a factory, a real factory, because the institute can produce the things which can go directly to the industry applications. And of course, it is a research institute. And in some parts, if the people realize that this is a public applications, so that can eventually become an incubator to getting some small company grow up. But the portion is like the research institute doing 80% for the research service to the companies, and 20% of the research in doing the traditional VC venture capitals, and then you go grow up a company. But that's on the background. We realize it's have a public applications in the industry side. It's more like a demanding leading rather than a technology leading. So a lot of the times we make a mistake thinking once the university or the academia discover something that can be very useful in the future, but actually in the real technology transfer, the demanding from the industry is more important, especially when they come out with question, and our engineering team can solve most part of the questions and the problems. Some part If the engineering team can't solve, then we give that to the university side, and the scientists and professors can lead in the team to work on those deeper questions, and then the people make an assembly line with the technology transfer. So basically, it's something already happened in European universities, and we're trying to make that happening like a bigger scale, and with the help from the government. Actually, on the other side, the government want to encourage the local university to do this part more than just publish paper and do fundamental research. So which make SUSTAC a little bit different from Peking University and Tsinghua University, because Peking University and Tsinghua is more like getting funded from the central government to encourage the scientists to do more fundamental research. And the SUSTAC is more like we get funds from the local government, and the local government getting funded from the local business. So the local government really want to bring us together. And eventually we realize that this is the way to go, rather than produce a lot of new companies, but we do service with our own ability in research and on the industry side to help the local companies to promote their technologies, rather than simply sell our technology to them or build up more companies for the society. Okay, can I get the next page? Yes, so with this kind of institute, we also realized that it's a real institute can help to produce the young engineering, because in last 20, 30 years, the university become more academia. And on the other side, we didn't train enough engineering students to help the local industries. So, but with this more like engineering focused institute, it can be a place we can have a younger generation of engineers to work with our engineers, with the technician team, to learn real things from the real question from the industry side. So we begin to train our engineering students to solve the real problem, the practical use of the problem, and those questions coming from the industry rather than coming from the academia side. And when during the process, they're solving the problem for the industry and they have a real experience. It's just like, we train doctors in medical school, and we also, in this kind of institute, we train engineering students in. With the technicians, more like apprentice, as a instructor, and with a couple of this apprentice system, rather than give a bunch of lecture course to 100 students. But this is more like in this real institute, the engineers have a couple of apprentices, and they doing hands-on skills, and young engineer students learn hands-by-hands skills during the process of solving problems. So it's more like this kind of institute become a place where we solve a real industry problem, and where we train students to learn have a real experience of industry applications, rather than previously the professors make up questions and make up possible applications of their discoveries, and the students basically have a more like away from the real applications. So on the other side, we begin to think of training industry students. Of course, industry side is in China is not that kind of competitive compared with academia job, especially when the family pay a lot of tuition fee to the students, and the student become looking for better job rather go to engineering jobs. So what are we trying in SUSTAC? We're trying to bring engineering courses with the design courses, and in the future we want to bring them into business schools. So we build up a whole the growth path for engineering students. They learn fundamental engineering skills, and working in companies for a couple of years, they become a team leader, so they need MBA skills. So we bring them back to business school so they can learn how to manage a group, and eventually they have their own companies. We encourage them to coming back to school again to learn how to become successful business people. So in that way, we're trying to build up a new group path for the engineering students to make sure they have the university support them in their life path of career. So can I do next page? Yeah, basically that's what's happening. We're trying to bring all things together. There's universities with Peking University here, because Tsinghua and Beida also have their schools in Shenzhen. And because the previous experience, we work with them together. And also we work with local companies like Huawei, like Sanye, which and Chinese Unicom, different kind of big companies and the smaller size of companies, and we're trying to get support from the government, and making, you know, basically those kind of institute, you need three parts to work all together to put a resource, and it's a challenge. To be honest, it's a challenge. We are getting there, but we think with the previous experience actually in Sheffield, and we begin to realize that's the right way to go. And next page, please. Yeah, as I said, it's Sussex is a really new university, and it's a good thing we're trying everything new. And because of, as Professor Yang have introduced, our university faculty basically now mainly coming from Peking University and Tsinghua University, because of the short of the period, we basically invite good faculties to join the university, and it's a new place, and people try new stuff, without, you know, too much of the burden from the history. Yeah, that's all. Thank you, and sorry for the promise. And
Thank you very
I know
much.
you guys have a lot of a discussion already.
Thank you
Sorry
very
to
much,
miss that.
Professor Ma. We have just 6 minutes left, but we did have a good discussion, and it is a pleasure to have such an experts like Professor Yang with us. But we have a few questions from the participants, and one of the questions: could you be more specific about involvement of students into research and development?
Okay.
What institutional forms you have for that?
Oh, it's basically, we think of the engineering team rather than the engineering students, rather than spend the time in their classes, but it's more like in the higher level of education. I mean, the second, the third year, and the fourth year, they join the institute and work with the engineers to solve the problems. Like, it's more like a problem PBL, problem-based learning. And we decided, because in the first 2 or 3 years, they learn all the basic skills. And on the thinner level of the education, the undergraduate education and the master educations, they join the institute with the real problems, and they have an experience. And basically, we design courses over that. And so it's like we try to think of it's the same way for training a medical student. You have a first few years of a really basic knowledge, and the later part, when you're getting all this knowledge, you're working with a practical hospital to get a real experience. And this technician team around with the university basically have the same environment for the engineering students to have that similar kind of experience when they solve the real problems. I don't know if I made up that clear.
Yes, I think so. The main way, as I understand,
yeah, it's different from the German way. You know, you have a dual track record of academia. In China, it's kind of separate. And we're trying to modify that. It's in China, people realize that's a problem. If you go practical, you go practical forever. That's the Chinese problem. And so the parents want their children to be academia rather than go practical training. But in China, we are starting to work on that to make sure the engineering students have a real training and have a competitive job career path.
Okay, thank you. I hope it's clear. So you put students into the team, and that's a simple
yes, that's
simple
the simple
way.
way. Yeah,
yeah,
that's yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Professor Yang, do you have any specific questions or comments to what Professor Ma told us?
Yeah, I guess my question would be really, you know, this all new curriculum design and also this construction of engineering team to bring this level 4 to level 7 issues. So do you think the model is how do we say mature enough for other universities or regions to copy, or you know, it's that copyable? Yes.
No, not really. No, well, we're trying to work with more university to see, because more like as I said, it's a challenging and the transfer also on the education side, because we get used to the ranking system already. And in recent years, we realized the ranking system is not everything we should have. We probably have a bunch of students still or research still on the ranking system, but there's a huge demanding already coming from the industry side, want the university contribute more to the society rather than, you know, contribute to the of course it's right, the future be human being, but on the immediate side, the side, especially in Shenzhen, there's companies want to learn things from the university, and they want the university contribute more knowledge and the technology to the local industries and the business side. So that's I can't say half, but it's another way we should try. Yeah, we're still ongoing to try. There might be different way, of course.
Thank you very much. I think the very important you mentioned there are 2.4 million small and medium-sized companies around. I think the demand-driven kind of demand-leading development kind of strategy you're approaching now is also critical, rely on the environment, right? If the other university wouldn't have so much kind of industry demand around them, it's really difficult to follow, you know, your strategy. Yeah, thank you very much for sharing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's an important comment, but still, I guess that in many countries and areas where we see rapid growth, we don't see universities to respond like that. Yeah. So I also, by the way, this webinar gives me an opportunity to promote forthcoming European University Summit in the end of the April at our university in Bremen. It will be about universities partnerships, including industry partnerships, and I'm sure that we'll find a way to highlight this innovative experience of SUSTEC. And again, thanks, Professor Ma, thanks, Professor Yang, and it's my pleasure to announce that in 2 weeks, we'll have the last webinar in 2023, and it will be about the experience of the most innovative universities according to Times Higher Education ranking. I leave it for Times Higher Education to be responsible for this ranking, but that's an interesting university for sure. Minerva University and founder and the chancellor of Minerva University, Ben Nelson, will be with us, and I hope with you as well. Again, thanks to the audience, to Professor Ma and Professor Yang.
Thank you.
Stay in touch.
Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Isaac, for having me here. Bye, Professor.
Bye.